Hello and welcome to Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexei, and today we've got Cameron Haines with us from Mobile Body Scans. How you going there, Cameron?
Yeah, really good, Alexei. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining, mate. You've got quite an interesting business model, and when we spoke last time, I was a little bit surprised to see how you're utilizing something so well known in a completely different way for gyms, mate. When take it away, tell us about your business, tell us about Mobile Body Scans and what it is that you do.
Yeah, so mobile body scans, we hire out InBody 570 machines. But the biggest difference, I guess, from us is that we don't go with the machine. And we've sort of tweaked the model to where it's also quite beneficial for our hirees because we have a per scan hire rate fee in comparison to just a day charge or anything in that standpoint.
Great, great. So you basically work with gyms with this specific machines, and what's the difference? I mean, obviously this product has been around for quite some time. Are you helping gyms generate new customers? Are you helping them to sort of retain customers? How do you sort of position this product within the business?
We kind of do a bit of everything. I guess it comes down to our hiree in that standpoint. Like we even branch out into nutritionists, allied health professional. It's kind of anything fitness based, and we've even done a little bit of corporate stuff as well. At the end of the day, the machines are able to provide that health standpoint or an image of what the internal of the body in terms of a data set can do. But there definitely is a retention aspect. If you look at it in terms of gyms, I would say body scan machines are definitely lead generation because you can pull a customer in. And I definitely did that when I had a studio with this machine. We would get a customer in, they may then ask questions about our services. Then the biggest one I would say is probably retention. So being able to prove and have your customer truly understand what they are doing and what results they're getting, I think is an extremely important part. And that's part of the reason we've expanded this business and I've gone full time into it, is because I'm really about that customer service aspect. And I think it should be something that's stipulated or something that's in the industry that we are trying to provide those results and quantify them for our customers in that standpoint.
Okay. Well, let's take a step back, because a lot of our customers are obviously from various businesses, and we got some startups listening in as well. What are these machines? What do they do specifically, and how do they run? Let's just go to basics.
100%. So we run the InBody 570, which is a BIA or bioimpedance analysis machine. There is many different ones on the market. To me, InBody is the most scientific backed. They've got the most clear evidence in terms of what they do and transparency. There is others on the market, but for us, we invested into that. The machines provide a printout. The in 570s, it's about 40 plus parameters. So it does body fat masses in terms of muscle mass. It does your water masses, it does your visceral fat masses, circumferences, it breaks down your muscle mass into your right arm, left arm, trunk, legs.
Wow.
Very, very technical in that standpoint. But at the end of the day, the basics of the machine is that they are providing a data sheet about the internal health of someone's body.
Okay. I have seen a couple of these machines, and like you said, they all vary a fair bit. So this is something that allows a person to be, I guess, measured, and then from there you could actually rely more on the numbers as you train. Is that more or less the idea?
100%. So when I had my own private studio, I was in kind of the high-end PT side before I moved to the south coast of New South Wales this year. We would use it on a fortnightly to monthly basis. And the idea of it was that I was using the information gained from those scans to show my customers why their nutrition maybe changes were working or how they were going. And then it might have also been a reason to change their program. So it's an analysis point if you want it to be. A lot of the time, these machines and a lot of our hirees are people doing challenges. So it's like before and after the challenge in that standpoint as well. So again, different ways that it can be used. And that's part of our model. We want to let our customer or hiree have the machine and technology. So we're facilitating that perspective, and then they can do as they please with it.
Great, great. And is it only for mobile personal trainer or personal trainers rather, or are there any other business types that may benefit from these sort of machines?
It's definitely probably the health end, but as I mentioned before, we've branched out a little bit into the corporate world. So, people providing health and trying to help their employees understand that. It might be also part of a 10,000 step challenge in the office. But at the end of the day, anything from gyms, allied health, nutritionists. These machines are already in those spaces, but we are really targeting the people that don't want to invest $30,000 into these machines and have them sit in the corner. At the end of the day, and I've learnt this, and I would never purchase one again if I had a studio, if I knew someone doing my model. The main reason is it's sat probably 50 to 75% of the time, somewhere in that range, not used. Where if I could get a machine in and say, hey guys, it's going to be here between Saturday and Monday, or between Monday and Wednesday, your scan is going to cost this much, it would be a much better perspective in comparison to having that much capital tied up and then all the running costs as well.
Absolutely. And I guess from the whole marketing perspective, it's a pretty cool point of difference because obviously a lot of gyms, a lot of PT studios advertise more or less very similar things. And I do find that often they follow a bit of a trend. I mean, at the moment, everyone at the gym who sort of explores marketing loves following Alex Hormozy. He talks a lot about gym marketing and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's all really about that initial offer. So how do you think having a mobile scan would complement, let's say, that initial session or the marketing that actually leads into it?
Well, I guess there's two sides on that when I look at it. There is a gym that doesn't have access to a machine that wants access to a machine because of a marketing campaign. They don't have the capital, again, to be able to have one sitting there. So they would be able to hire our machine for a period of time, and have a machine to offer as that marketing perspective. The other side of it would be that they would then be able to up that. The reason I have 3 machines is I purchased a second machine when I had a large challenge and I wanted more people to be scanned at once. So I found someone who actually was selling a machine, and I actually purchased a second one. So there's just different standpoints that come with it. And when it comes to the marketing, you are 100% right. When it comes to fitness, especially, it's all about the offer. There's a lot of different things that are going on there. And at the end of the day, sometimes sweetening the deal with a body scan or even having a better set point for these people to start from is a good way. The other thing that I'd like to mention on that standpoint is also it gives the business that is getting that customer in a standpoint to stand on. Like, we provide reporting at the end of it. There was a recent scan period we did, and we were able to show that over an 8-week period, a gym had over 55 members, like 120 kilos lost and 25 kilos of muscle mass gained. So It's hard facts that are able to then show, and they can use that in their just general brand awareness if they wanted to.
And numbers sell. Look, having factual figures certainly helps with the marketing campaigns. I also find that, the whole idea of using these machines can probably help the business not only acquire new customers, retain customers, but also do cross sells as well. So you've touched on nutritionists. Do you sort of help businesses, PT businesses, work with other businesses like dietitians or nutritionists or anyone else in the allied health?
I guess it's not facilitated directly through us. We have done a hire out towards Wagga that was with a group of people. So it was like 3 businesses that came together. So again, like, there's different standpoints that I guess can come together, but not particularly in terms of us facilitating that exactly. It's normally a collaboration between 2 businesses that already knew each other.
So how did you get into all this? I mean, surely this isn't something you're just going to stumble across overnight. I mean, what's your story? Have you done a bit of PT in the past yourself? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I'm 12. I would be just finishing 12 years, nearly 13, I think. I can't remember which year it was. Too many of them, to be truly honest. Too many early mornings and late nights. I was a trainer in a commercial gym where we had machines come in. Then I went and hired private studios where these weren't there at all. And I was sending my clients out to places to get scans. At that point, I ran into one issue that I think our service stops, which is I was then having my customers come back with information from another person that in sometimes was correct, but sometimes was also incorrect. So I then was on the back foot with the conversation about getting these scans. But when I actually acquired a machine was in 2019. I had my own private studio, literally built a state-of-the-art specific facility, and I just decided to bite the bullet. I was at the high end. I wanted to show my customers and I wanted to demonstrate what my service was doing, which I did. And that machine is still with me today. But that was my learning experience, I guess, of how expensive they are, not just in repayments, but then also software fees. I had a machine have an issue and it had to be sent back up to Queensland. So there was transport, there's all these different things that come together. But particularly where mobile body scans came from was early 2020, pre-COVID lockdowns. I had a local friend who had a studio, who wanted a machine and said to me, "Hey, is there any way I can grab your machine for a week?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let's do $10 a scan." We ran it at a very cheap price in that standpoint. And it was so popular, like they put through 150 people or something in 7 days, that they wanted the machine back next month. And then it kind of blew from there. And it was just prior to lockdown that this started to really, I guess, grow, in the standpoint that I had about 3 different businesses that wanted the machine. And that's again where I got my second machine. And it's kind of just grown from there to where now I'm trying to focus on this full time and really supporting businesses in my local area. Unfortunately, at the current time, there is expansion plans with the business model if it can come together. But yeah, that's the basics of the progression, I guess, from PT through to studio to ownership and now onto this business.
Great, great. And with your business, you're mainly servicing local customers at the moment. You've got plans to sort of expand further out to other Australian cities?
Yeah, so we're sort of servicing the South Coast, New South Wales, out to Wagga and up into Sydney areas. We can always travel further. It just comes down to business economics, unfortunately, in that standpoint. But I do have grand dreams that this business could be a licensing or a franchise sort of perspective, because there is so many of these machines out there. This model definitely works. And again, I feel like someone that maybe doesn't have 100% usage of a machine could do what I've done. And if that's the license option, there is also a perspective where, in Melbourne or Sydney, if there was machines, which I believe there's already a business in Melbourne doing something similar. I don't know 100% of their details, but the idea of it would be pockets. So, someone could have a local area that they could service. And again, it comes down to trying to support those businesses that want the machines. And there is always going to be ones that just want to buy them, and that's great. But we want to help the people that maybe are not in the position to purchase them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, $30,000 is obviously a lot of money. And while it sounds like a very good thing to have, getting the money back obviously is quite cost prohibitive. So I do like your business model. I think also, there's the whole concept of leverage is sometimes not utilized by businesses, where there's a lot of equipment and tools that are lying around and not being used 100% of the time. And,
100%.
Yeah, with that, you can always come up with other ideas. Like, I mean, you look at your general, let's say, hairdresser or beauty salon. A lot of them do this whole boothing concept where they rent out a particular chair to another, service provider doing nails or something similar. And essentially, when you share the same clientele, that allows people to do, more and potentially utilize your resources and get more people come through the door. So yeah, man, I can see many different ways this concept can work. Now, obviously, you've done a lot of PT stuff. Would you have any tips or advice or any personal trainers who are starting out? Because what you're saying may sound really good. And I do find that, especially in the PT industry, anything trendy sort of really stands out and everyone jumps onto it. And then it's the next bright, shiny object. Any tips or advice for personal trainers?
It kind of covers what you just mentioned before about with boothing and that sort of stuff, and the question you just asked. Like, these machines, when you purchase them, they sell you the concept of, you do 20 scans a week at $40 and you get this much revenue. I think something that's forgotten in that standpoint is your time. So you might be able to do 50 scans, but you then have to do 50 appointments if you're going to be charging for it. So when it comes to PTs and advice, it's really do your due diligence and look at it. And I would also say making sure you have a good mentor or coach or something in that standpoint in the area. And reaching out to people in that standpoint. Like, I would happily talk to any business that was interested in doing something like we are, in a different area, of course, to us. Because at the end of the day, conversations are what come together. But the more you can, in the PT world, become good with your customer, and you can get that rapport basis, whether that is as a studio or as an individual, I think that's the best way to grow and thrive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I definitely think it's a lot of added value, and that's what is often missing from those initial consultations with the health professionals, because, anyone wants to do that initial assessment, or they want to do some consultation or training program. But beyond that, everything's very, very similar. So I do think that this is a good angle. Okay. In terms of the types of clients that you work with, is that, just your PTs or any specialized gyms? Who's your ideal customer?
I guess that's actually a funny one. Like I've worked with an advertising agency on this and they pushed me on it. And it's an open question. We work with anyone and everyone. Like I do a private hire to a group in Canberra on a regular basis. Like they're a group of friends, rather than them going and trying to find a machine, I drop it off to one of their houses. It's there for 7 days. So I guess it's to summarize it, it's individuals, businesses, and corporations. Because again, we do have a franchise that uses us. So it's a very broad thing, but it's really someone looking for that health information, someone looking to try and improve their understanding of their body, or improve their clients' understanding of their body, or staff.
Yeah. Well, out of all those avatars overall, I find that the corporate's probably the harder one to sort of penetrate a lot of the time. And you do need a really good offer to make yourself stand out, because I do talk to a few personal trainers, like the corporate customers are the best. They're very career oriented. They're very punctual on time. They don't miss appointments. They're obviously A grade paying customers, but it's hard to get them. And I've seen a few interesting business models in the past. Like, for example, there was a program, in fact, a franchise a while ago called Wim to Warrior, where they did like those MMA training specifically for people. In corporate.
They're still going.
They are still going. Yeah, I think Conor McGregor had something to do with that at some stage. But what I'm finding is just it's this outside the box thinking that actually allows people to get to that corporate market and activate it. And I think your product is great specifically for that. Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, it's also like one of the biggest things I've seen these machines do is change perceptions. Like, you know, if I was to say what's the easiest way to calculate someone's health, most people go to BMI. It is a load of junk. It was created around the world wars to see if we could go to war, right? There is so many times that someone jumps on one of these machines thinking they've got 40 kilos to lose, but they've got a really high muscle mass, like 140 or 150% of what is natural for their height and age. So it's really about facts and figures and knowing those details. And I guess that's the only thing I do see is this machine can scare people off because it is hard facts. But sometimes you need to have those, like both sides. You need to have the realization of, oh shit, I'm not in the state I want to be, or the complete opposite of like, oh, I'm actually in a better state than I thought I was. So it just helps. And to me, that's my standpoint, is I would prefer to know than not know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if anyone wants to find out more about your business, mobilebodyscans.com.au, is that the best place to go to?
Yep. Or just search that on in the social medias and we'll pop up in that standpoint. Feel free to reach out through any messaging, or there's my mobile numbers on the website as well.
No worries. So you work with those inquiries like one-to-one, or do you run any workshops or anything like that?
We do a kind of both in some ways. Mostly it's one-to-one. I've got a small team of admin staff behind me as well. But generally it's, you know, I like to talk with my person and understand what they're doing. As I said before, like it doesn't bother me what they do with the machine, whether it sits there and it's just members can use it through bookings or it's an ad campaign. But I'm here to try and support, because that's one big thing I have noticed in the past sort of 6 months is I want to facilitate. And I guess that's part of the model as well, right? Is the more scans that people do and the more I can support someone with information or maybe helping them interpret better, means that they get better results, which benefits both businesses at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Well, I find the whole personal training industry quite seasonal. Obviously, you know, things go fairly quiet in the winter and then they go crazy just before people get into summer. In fact, probably, you know, get that summer body campaign's been used to death, but it works. And, you know, it's obviously October right now. It's getting warm and people are starting to sort of get ready for summer. So if you run a PT gym, or you've got some sort of a fitness venture that you're doing, especially when it's including challenges, this may be the next best thing you guys may be wanting to invest into. So have a chat to Cameron, reach out, at least find out if this is for you, or use this concept to explore what's possible in terms of making your business stand out. Cameron, mate, I really appreciate you jumping on this podcast to share with us your great business model. And I wish that next year we'd be talking about a national franchise with you know, hundreds of potential customers, if not more, mate. Thanks very much.
No, thank you for having me on, and appreciate your time. And you know, it's nice to be able to sort of reach out and have a conversation with someone in your perspective, and you know, reach out to the listeners and people that have viewed this.
Great. Well, this has been a business podcast. We focus on things that can help businesses do better in the sense of getting more customers or operating better or thinking outside the box. If you like our episodes, please make sure you subscribe and share this with your friends. Thanks very much.